My life is just so messed up. I really don't know where to start. I had an abusive childhood and it took me 20 years to get over it, but now it feels like I am back to square one and would have to start the healing journey again. I am 31F. My mom has been abusive crap ever since we were born. We are 3 siblings: I, brother, 29M, sister, 28F. Our dad left mom when I was 5 after a massive blowout. Mom always had anger issues and she would go nuts even at minor inconveniences. The earliest memory of my childhood is the physical fights between mom and dad. Mom would throw things at him and he would try to dodge it initially, but after being hit and hurt he would also throw stuff at mom. It might sound funny to some of you, but watching this as a kid is shit scary. They would get hurt, and sometimes bleed. It was so traumatic for us to watch this fighting match between our parents. Most of these fighting nights, we would cry ourselves to sleep. Then one day, Dad left. I don't even remember which was his last hug before leaving. After that, our life became more terrible. Until now, the man in the house was our dad and we didn't feel threatened. After he left, there were just random guys showing up at our house. Some of them gave me and my sister weird looks, and some would fight with mom and break things. As I grew up, some of them would try to grope me when mom wasn't around. I was a little kid. I didn't know what it was, but I didn't feel right about it. Mom was always in a bad mood. It was just impossible to have any confrontation with her. She barely had time for us. We had to do most of our stuff by ourselves, and being the eldest one, I had to face the brunt. Mom had a drinking habit and she came home late. When we woke up, she would still be asleep. I had to make breakfast and school lunch for myself and my siblings. When we came back from school, mom was out for work and then she would come late in the night. My brother would help me sometimes, but mostly I was on my own. On weekends, she would bring men at home and that would be worse. She would be locked up inside her room for most of the weekend until she heard us fighting. She would come out, yell at us, or beat me and my brother, and then would push back to her room. My brother ran away from home when he was 11. My mom didn't blink an eye over it. My brother was working at a store just a mile away, but mom never reported him or brought him back home. After that, I also mustered some courage and ran away, but she reported me. I was brought back home by the cops. I tried to tell the cops that I didn't want to be home, but I was too scared to tell them the whole truth. When my sister turned 12, she also ran away with her 18-year-old boyfriend. Again, mom didn't report to the cops. I was 15 and I got rebellious. I fought with mom as to why she would let others move out, but not me. She shed fake tears and said I was her favorite child and she can't live without me. But the truth was, she didn't let me go because I was taking care of the house, making dinners and breakfast, cleaning the house, and doing other household chores. She was exploiting me, whereas my brother and sister were of no use to her, so she got rid of them. I was dumbass to not realize this earlier. So, I just ran away from the house and just vanished. It's been 15 years since then. I have never seen my mom's face again. Now, I'm married and have 2 daughters. Sometimes, when I look back, I cannot fathom how could my mom let those things happen to us. I mean, I am so protective towards my girls. I am always vigilant even when they are around their grandfather and uncles. I have been in touch with my siblings since I got married 10 years ago. My brother is also married but has no kids, while my sister is single. My brother is in low contact with both of us and only calls/texts on important occasions. When my first daughter was born, my dad texted me. Apparently, he had been following all of us on social media through a fake account. He called and apologized for abandoning us. Initially, I was mad at him because he freed himself while leaving us in hell. He said he had no choice but to run because he was done with mom's abuses and violence. He had a choice. He could have reported mom and got our custody, but he chose to run away from his responsibilities. I was seeking therapy all this while, and eventually, I got over it and forgave him, but I'm in minimum contact with him, just a few emails/phone calls in a year. I am closer to my sister and we talk more often, maybe once a month or sooner. We 3 siblings look out for each other in times of need. 5 to 6 years back, mom reached out to all 3 of us and said we should reconcile. My brother slammed the door in her face and said he had no business with her. I did not answer her calls/texts. She didn't show up at my door. However, my sister chose to reconcile with mom. She said she wanted to get over it, and her therapist told her that forgiveness and reconciliation are one way of healing from past trauma. I don't know how true it was or how much it has worked for her, but in my case, I was adamant about not having mom back in my life. Next month is mom's 50th birthday and my sister came to me with the proposal of reconciling with mom. I was shocked at her request because she knows what pain I've been through. Surely my brother and sister also had a painful childhood, but they had me as the protective shield. I made them food, did their laundry, cleaned them up, and looked after them. I had no one doing it for me. I was the one who suffered the most. I asked my sister if she remembered how mom used to beat me even though I did all the household work. She said she remembers everything, but it's time to erase those sad memories because mom is a changed person now. I said I was not going to reconcile. She got mad at me for still holding a grudge against mom. I asked her if she had forgotten what I had been through. She says she remembers every bit of, and it was horrifying back then, but we should forget about it. It's been so many years now. She says I'm being dramatic and exaggerating the entire stuff. She is like, everyone goes through this stuff but no one takes the grudge to the deathbed like you are doing. You are blowing it out of proportion and unnecessarily giving air to your feeling of hatred towards mom. I tried to make her understand that it was so difficult for me to come to terms with my past and now she wants me to reconcile with the same horrendous past. She said we are family and that's what a family does, forgive each other. She is trying to guilt trip me that I am being unreasonable for holding on to the past. She's mocking me saying my therapy had been a waste of money because I'm still not over my past. I discussed this with my husband and he is also asking me to move on and reconcile. Now I don't know if my feeling of resentful is even valid or if I'm being overly dramatic like my sister is saying. Update 1. Hello everyone, thanks for validating my feelings. It was reassuring that I am not the only one who has faced this kind of rough childhood and definitely not the only one who is holding this up. Everyone who said that they have been through this, I am sorry guys. It's a terrible thing to experience. Hope you all come strong. And you guys are right, I don't need to explain my feelings to everyone. Not everyone is going to understand it even though they might have witnessed my turmoil. My sister and I usually talk over the phone and rarely meet because she lives 4 hours away. 2 weeks back, she showed up at my house unannounced. She hugged me unusually long and said she missed me. I asked her what's the matter. She said nothing, it's just the sisterly love. For the whole time, she was circling back on the topic of family, importance of forgiveness, and how family should have each other's back. I said, wait a minute, if you are trying to manipulate me to reconcile with mom, then that's not happening. She tried to be mom's advocate and said, mom misses you so much, why do you have so much hatred for her when all of us have undergone the same traumatic childhood? I said I'm not responsible for how others feel about their experience but I am not letting this go. Besides, my brother has also not resumed contact with mom, so why am I only the bitch for not having mom back in my life? She said it was because mom wanted to be around her grandchildren and I was the only one who had children among our 3 siblings. I said I'm still not sold. The woman who was so reckless with her own children, how could she be trusted with her grandchildren? Moreover, if mom misses me so much then why has she never contacted me? She asked me if mom contacted me, would I forgive her? I said I don't know and I really didn't want her to contact me, so dropped the idea of sending mom to my door. She stood up and said I'm such a bummer. My husband was in the living watching TV with the girls. While leaving she went to him and said, how are you putting up with this woman, she's such a dud. They both chuckled. I gave him a look and she said she was just being funny. As my mom's birthday approached, my sister pestered me to show up at the party but I set my foot down and said if she insisted any further, I was gonna cut her off too. She backed off but she was not very happy about it. I said F off with your opinion, I don't care. Yesterday was mom's birthday and today she showed up at my house. When I answered the door and found her standing, I felt I saw a ghost. She was still her narcissistic self-centered woman. She barged into the house saying, where are my grandchildren? My girls were playing right there. I blocked her from reaching out to my children and asked them to rush into their room. Mom got mad at me that I was behaving as if she was a criminal. I said indeed she was a criminal and should have been held, had I reported her to the cops 20 years back. She said I was vindictive just like my dad. To piss her off, I said yeah, that's why I am in touch with dad and not her. She freaked out knowing I was talking to dad who abandoned us. She tried to guilt trip that dad abandoned us while she worked hard to raise us and I was still soft on dad and resent her. I said yes, that's what I am doing. She called me an emotionally weak person and said she was only there for her granddaughters. I said I am not letting my daughters meet such a cruel woman who let her children get groped by her boyfriends. She got offended at this and started shouting at me. I was so right. She hasn't changed a bit in the last 20 years. I asked her to leave or else I'll cops on her. She left with a bitter face. This happened like 4 hours ago and I am still mad. My face is still red with anger. I mean, this is the woman my sister had been vouching for. I am so proud of my decision to cut her out of my life. Update 2. Hello all, sorry for not updating it sooner. I was dealing with a lot of mess. Let me start where I left off. That night when my husband came home, I told him about mom's visit. He got mad at me for misbehaving with mom and chasing her out. He yelled, why can't be I like my sister and move on? He was like, when both of you had the same past, how come she moved on and you are still stuck to it? After a while my sister called and she was also mad that I was rude to mom. She said that it was unfair that dad gets to be in my life despite abandoning us but mom is cut off. She was arguing that even though mom was a little rude towards us yet she was the one who raised us and not dad. I said I knew dad was also wrong in abandoning us and not fighting for us but he came to me and said sorry and apologized for his mistakes, unlike mom who was still her narcissistic self and yet wanted me to forgive her. Forgiveness doesn't work like that. Is it too much to ask for? A sorry after she had tortured me throughout my childhood? Sister said I was too egoistic and hung up. I was upset that no one understood me and even my husband was dismissing my feelings. I even went into self-doubt that maybe it's me because the rest of everyone is on one side. For the next 1 week, my husband was unusually silent. I also didn't make the move because I was upset too. Then a week later, he said he wanted to confess something before it's too late. My heart sank. You know how this kind of confessions end up. He asked me to hear him out completely before taking any decision. I said sure. He told me that he went to my mom's 50th birthday party hosted by my sister. I flipped out like hell. Why did you do this? It was no less than cheating on me. He said my sister texted him that night after she left our place. As per his story, sister told my husband that mom was crying herself to sleep because I was not letting her meet her grandchildren. My husband had told her that he would try to convince me to reconcile. Then she insisted he attend mom's birthday party to cover up for me, and he did that. There were pictures of him celebrating with them. No red flags in the pictures. However, a few days later, 2 days before he made the confession, mom calls him up for dinner and says she wants to discuss something. She told my husband not to inform me about it. This moron didn't tell me anything and went to meet her. Mom was late, but my sister was before time. She was already drunk and had ordered a couple of drinks for my husband. She made moves at him, flirting with him and badmouthing me. She called me egotistic and vindictive. He said he was sorry for yelling at me that night, and whatever he said was not his words. He has been fed that by my sister and my mother. He said he realized their evilness only when he went for dinner with them 2 days back. He thought that my sister was making moves at him because she was drunk, but it was all planned. He called up mom to ask her to hurry up because my sister was drunk and she was acting touchy. Mom didn't answer the call and texted him to drop my sister at her house. My husband insisted that she come and take her daughter away, and he was not going to take her home in a drunken state. Mom showed up in 10 minutes, which meant she was around. My husband insisted that they leave because my sister was too drunk, but my sister said she was feeling light after throwing up and they could continue the dinner. She continued to flirt with him. My mother supported her. He felt she was acting up. My mother tried to put ideas in his mind that they two looked so sweet together and it would be so great if my sister and my husband got in together. My sister has a medical condition and doctors have said she cannot conceive. That's the reason she hasn't married. My mom said it would be the best thing for my sister to get married to my husband and get custody of my girls. In that way, my mom could meet her grandchildren with her favorite daughter and son-in-law. My husband walked away after that. Since that night, my sister has been texting him, asking him out for dinner. She even asked him to come over to her place. She has also been sending him pictures of herself in the changing room and mirror selfies with duck pout lips. Gross. This is his version of the story, but I have seen all the messages by myself and my husband's reply to that. I asked him if he wanted my sister. He said no way. If he was interested he would have cheated by now. I said you have cheated on me by attending my mother's party and going to dinners with them behind my back, but I'll deal with it later. First I need to deal with these two witches. He apologized profusely and said he was not going to get manipulated any further by them. He asked me to forgive. After a lot of yelling, I did forgive him on the condition that he had to call them out for their BS in front of me. He dialed my sister in front of me and asked her to come over to our house with mom. Mom and sister arrived thinking my husband was going to leave me. My husband narrated the whole incident again in front of them. My sister denied some of his allegations, but more or less my husband's version was true because both my sister and my mother were embarrassed by the entire episode. I shouted at them and called them names for wrecking my house. My sister started crying and said it was all mom's idea to get back at me for humiliating her. My sister confessed that when she told my mom about her medical condition, she said, "Why don't you date Cheeries, me, husband, and ask him to get custody of my daughters? In that way you can have a husband and children." They had a full-fledged plan to prove me an insolent and irresponsible mom. My mother planned to make my husband cheat on me, and in a fit of rage I would do something outrageous and they would use my anger against me in getting the custody. My mother sat there frozen like a rock solid. She whispered to my sister that she had done everything to make her, my sister's, life better. My sister yelled that this was not to make her life better but to make my life miserable. She had always hated me, and this time she went too far to destroy my life. I chased both of them out of my house. Mom got up and left without a word, but my sister held my hands and cried. I said, "I don't have any soft corner for your tears. You're not 13yo that got manipulated by mom. You also had an evil heart and that's why you went behind my husband." She cried and promised that she wouldn't do this again, but I cut her off. She tried to contact me after that, but I blocked her. I told my husband that the only reason I'm forgiving him is because he confessed. Had I found the truth by myself, I would have divorced him right there and wouldn't have let him meet his daughters until they turned 18. He insisted we go for couple therapy to get over this phase. We attended one session and it was helpful. I was super mad at my husband when he told me about the entire stuff. In fact, I doubted him that he had cheated or might be thinking about cheating, but I guess not all men are cheaters. I forgot to mention that he is the reason I was able to put my life together. After running away from home, I used to work at his dad's store, and since then he and his parents have been my family. I'm really grateful to have them in my life. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Told my wife about coworkers faking safety data at our company. Top brass found out and sent legal after us. We still have our jobs, but nothing's changed and I worry people could get hurt. So my wife and I worked for the same multinational company but in different departments at the same location. Like most couples we talk about work, complain about coworkers, and workplace drama. I work in a quality control lab, and she handles clients and rubs elbows with the top brass of the company during their weekly meetings and such. She is also a very likable person and friends with them outside of work. I was complaining to her about my coworkers, how some of them don't run quality control checks, or ignore them if they fail, and how some of them falsify or completely make up data just to make their job easier. At my company, any of those things are a fireable offense. I also mentioned to her that I had complained about it to people overseeing the lab, but nothing ever comes of it. Well, today after her morning meeting, she was commiserating with her team. Like I said, some of them are the top brass in the company, and some of what I told her about the lab came up. I can't imagine how it came up, but it did, and apparently it didn't seem like it was a big deal in the moment. Near the end of the day, she was called by HR to schedule a meeting with HR and the company legal team. They are flying the legal team from our company HQ to our location for a meeting to discuss any information she knows about the lab practices I mentioned to her. I'm sweating bullets because I have no idea what this means for us. In the end, I know I will be mentioned, so I'm going to take heat from someone, and I'm totally worried somebody, maybe me, will be fired. Comments where Op has replied, here for the comments 57. Dude, I'm a quality engineer and everything you mentioned is definitely not specific to your company. You see it everywhere because when something is non-conforming it usually means action needs to be taken and possibly paperwork. So technicians find it easier to fudge the numbers to avoid the extra work. This is part of the reason why I hate my job. I'm going to assume you work in a highly regulated field, hence the attention from the legal team. But they will quickly find out why your wife knows what she does, get to you, and you'll have to provide evidence to your claims. Your quality manager is going to be asked to provide all inspection documentation, and if you are doing your job correctly, you have nothing to worry about. One thing to know is that people won't know why the legal team showed up. They won't rat you or your wife out. Do_demand 8301 op. That's comforting. La Vida Laika, not sure what you do, but it sounds like it needs to happen. Big fops, no shit. Kudos for the company for paying attention to it. Cichlids Aramajam, unless the company does nothing about the practices but punishes Op and Mrs. Op for not coming forward sooner. Proxy, time to get a lawyer. Legal team from you means a legal team for me. Mom _with_and_ attitude. Are you the one falsifying data? No? Then I doubt you'll be fired. If you reported it to higher ups, I would start documenting what you said to who and when you said it. If you have it written in email form, send those emails to your personal email address and save them as if your job depended on it. Because it might. Do_demand 8301 op. I'm a bit worried about retaliation for being the one to say something. I definitely don't falsify results. Mom _with_and_ attitude. If I ran a company, I would be happy that someone spoke up. What grounds can they fire you on? Telling the truth? But, I am not a company owner. So really have no idea what will happen. I think employers can fire anyone for any reason, bogus or not. Maybe start polishing your resume and applying for other jobs just to be on the safe side. Good luck, Han. Wishing you the best. Update, it turns out that multiple people had reported the anonymous hotline for our company. The legal team met with my wife because she was the only person they knew had knowledge of the events. 1 month later, we both still have our jobs, no retaliation, which was my biggest fear, but nothing has changed. The people falsifying data are still employed, and continuing their same practices. As mentioned previously, we are an international company, HQ in the US, but are managed locally for the most part. One comment asked if I worked at Boeing, which gave me endless laughter considering the headlines that month. We don't haha, however, we do work in an industry where people can be seriously harmed if the lab gives inaccurate results. I think the local upper management is keeping a lid on things because we are short-staffed, and reluctant to fire skilled personnel. So I'm reporting infractions to my supervisor, and documenting each incident, and I plan to turn it over to HQ if nothing changes in the next week. Comments, Matt MCM. Look into whistleblower protections. I believe your employment can be protected and a percentage of a potential government fine awarded to you. Do_demand 8301 op. I'll look into that. Last month I was worried about my job, but now it has become so egregious that I'd rather work in a research labs making a fraction. Someone else said contact the FBI. I thought it was silly at first, but maybe it's actually warranted. Matt MCM, it doesn't necessarily need to be the FBI, I don't think, just whatever regulatory agency would oversee the industry. FDA, maybe even OSHA, etc. Northern Planer, sounds like a third-party testing laboratory of some kind. Do_demand 8301 op. I believe so. I would assume companies do their own testing, then send their samples to us to confirm results. Siren Scholar, so what you're saying is we all need to avoid at all costs so we are not seriously harmed. Thanks for the heads up. Do_demand 8301 op. More along the lines that lower-level employees that are in direct contact with the materials could be harmed due to poor lab testing. But if a truck had an accident or say a railcar went off the tracks, you would need accurate chemical information to protect the population and environment. Peter 095837, The Lion, The Witch and the Audacity. How is there more? We do work in an industry where people can be seriously harmed if the lab gives inaccurate results. The people falsifying data are still employed, and continuing their same practices honestly, not a surprise. Pathetic how companies are not being responsible. Ginger_anarchy, yep, legal was flown in to put the fear of God into Oop and his wife to make sure they didn't talk to anyone else and kept it contained to just them and no one at family gatherings or the errant reporter, etc. Also, it's only been a month and there will absolutely be quiet retaliations. They're going to be passed over for promotions and Oop is probably on top of the layoff list as soon as they're not short-staffed. Match a magpie, yeesh, as noble as Oop might trying to be, the company will try to protect itself. Oop and wife need to find new jobs stat. Peter 095837, the company has proven they are protecting themselves and will not be taking any responsibility. Opp and his wife really need to find a new place cause working in this place will not be beneficial for their sakes.